Welcome to the show, not the alt show. It's the ATL. They trading for Kyler Murray, Johnny Venerable, Bo Brock, PHNX Cardinals podcast. And it's interesting, Bo, the further we get away from the 2023 NFL draft, it becomes a safe place, right? We can talk about potentially deals that, of course, went down and maybe some that fell through the cracks. I saw something from Indianapolis, an insight into their war room that they were initially depressed that Houston had traded up, and then they're like, no, we're going to get Anthony Richardson. That was great. But then there's kind of erroneous reports of other things that didn't transpire, and one in particular, Bo Brock, that having to do with the Arizona Cardinals franchise quarterback in one Kyler Murray.
Yeah, it seems like somebody was just kind of throwing excrement at the wall and seeing what sticks or what could get clicks and eyes and ears on their podcast. I don't know. I mean, we'll certainly get into it. Erroneous is a good way to put it as far as Kyler Murray potentially going anywhere this season based on what he's due and how his contract would pan out to the Cardinals and what they would have to absorb dead money wise and what the other team would have to take on. So I don't think it was anything outside of just trying to be sensational and trying to get people to listen to what you have to say about gambling or whatever it might be. But you know, we'll get into it. We'll also get into more triggering conversation about somebody who clearly doesn't like the Cardinals organization, even though they seem to be trending in the right direction. And very few people could say that they're not. But this one, you know, I guess talking head continues to feel like he needs to go after the Cardinals and their new head coach, Jonathan Gannon and Monti Ossenfort. So all that, and then some wild depth charts by a big-time publication that had some interesting players in interesting positions. Now, it is only May, but we'll get into that conversation. But this, I'm throwing up radio air quotes, podcast air quotes, this report.
Yeah.
The favorites, the Action Network, the podcast, usually breaking down gambling. And
like
they dropped this little nugget.
I'll never listen to this podcast. Can I do that? Can we take odds on me never having to listen to this show again?
Let's give you like less than a minute's worth. Let's give you what we're going to discuss here, and then we'll move forward in our lives. We'll improve, probably benefit very well after not having to listen to it afterwards.
And I'll say this. My favorite thing that didn't happen at the draft, there was a ton of drama going on behind the scenes of Atlanta was going to trade for Tannehill. That was a real thing. Tennessee was going to give Tannehill to Atlanta, and they were going to move up to the 8th spot. They couldn't they couldn't work out the money. Same thing happened with Kyler Murray in Atlanta. So apparently there was a deal in place for the Cardinals and Atlanta that are going to send Kyler Murray to Atlanta for draft picks, and they're going to take some money on. It didn't work out, obviously, but I love that Atlanta's trying to do stuff here, right? They have all the weapons there. They just don't have the quarterback. Who knows what could happen in the middle of the season, right? With everything going on, I'll keep that on people's radar. Atlanta's a sleepy team this year, Atlanta. And if they get a Tannehill, they get a Kyler Murray, that's definitely a team in that division that could easily steal that division.
Sleepy team. I'm sleeping on this podcast in the sense I'm never listening to it again. So there's so basically this guy from the Action podcast, I had never heard of him before. I'd heard of the Action podcast before. And their host, I told Bo this off air, hates the Cardinals. He was anti-Cliff. He doesn't like Kyler Murray. That's the only part of the podcast I chose to listen to because people put it out there. I got it in DM. So we have to address it. This is 100% unequivocally false. I've talked to 2 people I trust, said it's not at all a likelihood that they had these discussions. Coincidentally, Bo, I had told you maybe like 36 hours before the draft, like, the Tannehill stuff was real, but there was also a report that the Cardinals had initially, not a report, but a rumor, had initially had conversations with Tennessee about maybe getting Tannehill to Arizona as a bridge before Kyler came back. But the money wouldn't have worked out. The Cardinals ended up trading with Tennessee later, and Tennessee didn't get their quarterback early on. So that would have been more likely. But Atlanta outright trading for Kyler Murray, 100% chance that this never took place.
Right. I mean, let's talk about things that we have sourced and things that were going on before the draft even started. Obviously, where you had the speculation, the linchpin to all this was going to be Houston and whether or not they go with the quarterback, right? Yeah. And if they didn't go with CJ Stroud and the Arizona Cardinals are sitting there on the clock at 3, a deal. There were deals in place. There were deals discussed. There was framework on deals. One that you had sourced in. I don't know. Do you feel comfortable saying the team?
Yeah, it was Tennessee.
Yeah, the Tennessee Titans. So there's stories to that. There's substance and there's things that make sense. Vrabel, Stroud, Ohio State connection. Tennessee was in on Stroud, and then Houston caught wind of that and realized that they couldn't wait until later in the draft to get their quarterback situation figured out. Like, all that stuff makes sense. This one makes zero sense. Yeah. And like, as far as generally when you have reported big news from an unlikely or unknown source, like this guy for the favorites, I try to give him like the benefit of the doubt. Yeah. And then, but you can poke holes in this from so many different angles. It just doesn't make any sense. So, and you have to consider like Simon Hunter, that's the guy who reported this. He's a professional bettor or a pro bettor that you even like, he's got a decent size, social media following, but also on social media, there's people that say, denying that he's even a professional bettor. They're just calling him a straight up fraud as far as that goes. So like, you're already starting, it's not a good start to this. And to throw out something like that, this doesn't make sense cap wise to the Arizona Cardinals. I mean, if you look if they dealt Kyler Murray and you can't like designate a trade post June 1st, like you agree to a trade and then you execute it after June 1st, but
you sweat it out for 6 weeks, maybe.
Yeah. If the Cardinals traded Kyler Murray, the dead cap for 2023 is $59 million. And then it's like negative. So it'd be negative $43 million towards the cap.
Yeah. No way.
Which they don't have. They've got $20 million in cap. Like they couldn't.
They haven't even signed a rookie class yet.
Huh? No, it doesn't even mathematically work. If they did it post June trade, they would get $13 million of dead cap this year, and then they would absorb $46 million of dead cap in 2024, which is something that I think the $46 million number, if they're holding on to the number 1 overall pick next offseason, is something that they might consider trying to take on. But there would have to be a lot that goes right. There's so many variables that go into this that don't make any sense at all.
Kyler Murray's not healthy, right? You'd be dealing him, in my opinion, with his value having never been lower because of the shots he's taken from the media and other teams. I'm not going to sit up here and say they may never trade. They'll never trade Kyler Murray. I don't know that. And I'm with Bo. Like, if they have an opportunity to add Caleb Williams on a 5-year rookie deal, paying him no money, and they believe in that rookie, there's a chance Kyler Murray could be dealt in 2024. But on the flip side, if Kyler Murray comes back and plays well this year, pending what happens with Houston, they're not going to be in a position for the first overall pick. So in a weird way, a lot of this is going to take care of itself, right? But what doesn't make sense is in the year 2023, when you're committed to Kyler Murray, he's a big part of what you want to do moving forward. The money doesn't make sense. The fact he couldn't pass a physical, he has not come back from, like, Atlanta would take on too much liability outside of Arizona, like just taking a complete bath on this. Kyler Murray, in my opinion, and this is not saying much, is going to have exponentially more value this time next year, should you opt to deal him. At the very least, barring something unforeseen, he's going to be 100% healthy, right? You're going to be able to unload a little bit more of that money. The Cardinals will take on some of that money, Bo, to your point, and they'll be in a better position to do so. But like, again, Kyler Murray right now, I believe, is ahead of schedule. I think Kyler Murray is going to play sooner than people think. I think that's a big part of why they're not aggressive going out and signing a bunch of other players. And then you've got the D-Hop factor involved. It just, the timing of it, it would have made much more sense, Bo, had they done it right when Gannon and Ossenfort were hired and they were like, please, somebody take Kyler. They're not going to do that because they know Kyler Murray is a big part of what they want to do. And if you're Atlanta, like, Atlanta could have easily traded up and gotten a quarterback. If they were so dead set on doing that, they stood pat and took a running back in the top 10. What part of that also equals let's trade for Kyler Murray? It just, this just feels like throwing shit in the wall and seeing what sticks.
It does. And here's where I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. And I listened to their show today, or minutes of it, and it was and of course they wanted to follow up because they knew that they were going to get listeners from the report that they gave earlier in the week, and that they wanted to capitalize on that. And the guy gave me no reason to believe it otherwise. He says he pushed back on Cardinals fans and saying you can't get too attached to players because the front office isn't attached to them. It's like that's just such bullshit as far as this goes. I mean, just as far as the financials go, and everybody's doing a good job in backing that up in the chat, it just doesn't make sense for the Cardinals to move off of them. And to your point too, there were several rookie quarterbacks that Atlanta could have been in on as well that they didn't seem tantalized about at all. They wanted to trade to two kind of burdensome cap numbers and Ryan Tannehill and Kyler Murray. Like here's where I'll give him the benefit of that. He might have what you could consider a source from the Atlanta Falcons organization, right? Sure. He might sweep the floors. He might make smoothies for the players. But as far as like his reach to general manager Terry Fontenot, like it's so far from it. It's so far from the actual decision makers. It just, because none of this makes any sense as far as actual football moves, business personnel moves.
Like Atlanta had an opportunity to go out and get Lamar Jackson. They immediately shot that down. They said, we're not going after Lamar. And then they didn't trade up for a quarterback, right? So clearly they're rolling with Desmond Ridder this year. They were committed to doing that. In my opinion, for this singular offseason, Lamar Jackson, with no guaranteed money attached to him and fully healthy, is more enticing for a franchise than Kyler Murray off an ACL with a bunch of money. So if you go by that logic alone, plus we've argued like Lamar Jackson has accomplished more than Kyler Murray. They immediately came out and said, we're not interested. Baltimore took phone calls, made phone calls, inevitably got the deal done internally. So it just, if any of this made sense, it was Tennessee's involvement with Tannehill, because we know they've been looking to move off Ryan Tannehill. But I had heard rumblings, maybe the Cardinals wanted him as a bridge. It would make sense if Atlanta wanted him as a bridge, right? But you commit to Kyler Murray, you commit to Kyler Murray. And if you're going to do that, it's not going to be this offseason. I mean, I do not believe Kyler Murray's damaged goods, but it does not help anybody from a contractual standpoint, financial standpoint, a public relations standpoint to trade for Kyler right now. Everybody just needs to sit tight, let the chips fall where they may, let this season play out, and we'll have a conversation next January.
I mean, just look at how this is kind of everything's transpired this entire offseason, right? From Monti Ossenfort to his introductory press conference to saying, the conversations were about building around your franchise quarterback. And then those were echoed by Jonathan Gannon, and Jonathan Gannon has done nothing but embrace Kyler Murray since the very jump. From when the report of Jonathan Gannon getting hired and then him about to leave to jump on the PJ to go back to Philly, and Kyler's in the building and he runs and they have the embrace, they slap hands and bro hug, and they're best friends from then and to now, right? Where Jonathan Gannon maintains they have a very tight relationship. And then we got Kyler Murray kind of being the face of the uniform unveiling and all of that. And it's like, you think that Monti Ossenfort, on a day where he gets to kind of show his new fan base that he's been hired as a first-year GM for, after basically from getting hired to then, was cleaning up the mess from Steve Keim and making unpopular decisions, that he's going to trade Kyler Murray. It makes zero sense. And the Atlanta thing is even almost far-fetched. It's like Atlanta is in public is doubling down on Desmond Ridder and then signed to Taylor Heinicke. Like Tannehill and Heinicke, why would you take on a more expensive Taylor Heinicke? It doesn't make any sense to me at all.
It doesn't, but it's out there. We wanted to address it at the top of the show. I doubt we'll speak on it again, Bo Brock. I don't think there's any validity to it. Kyler Murray may very well be traded from this franchise at some point. It's not going to be today. It's not going to be this offseason. It doesn't make sense for anybody involved. And to double down on Bo's point, like you've heard us say this on the show, like Kyler and Jonathan Gannon talk all the time. And they're going to see if we can make this thing work. And if so, they're going to win some games this fall. And if things go south, they'll have a contingency plan. And maybe everybody decides to move on. But we haven't been close to reaching that point yet. I'm going to tell you right now, we are close, though, to reaching a point with BetMGM where they are our favorite sportsbook app. In fact, we've made it. We've arrived. We've teamed up with our friends at BetMGM this season. We'll be using the BetMGM lines to make all of our picks. We've got special offers for our listeners every single week, every single day. beginning, hello, Suns money line tomorrow. I need it. I need it in my life. You can get it right now. The BetMGM Sportsbook app. You haven't signed up yet. Super simple. Use that bonus code PHNX. There's a few different offers depending on where you live. But for our Arizona audience, you're going to get up to $100 in bonus bets on your first wager with BetMGM. Again, make sure you use that bonus code PHNX. We've got our Knockout Nights Cornhole League tomorrow. It's the first Friday of every single month from May until August. Giveaways, specials, prizes, live broadcast shows, whatever you want to do it with us at BetMGM Sportsbook out on the lawn at State Farm Stadium. And now you get to hear in the show notes for details, our guy Shane Diefenbach talk about it in the disclaimer.
Disclaimer, 21 plus to wager. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. U.S. promotional offers not available in Washington, D.C., Mississippi, Nevada, New York, and Ontario. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Colorado, D.C., Illinois, Indiana, Louisiana, Maryland, Mississippi, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, Wyoming. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369, New York. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP, Arizona. 1-800-522-4700, Kansas, Nevada. 1-800-327-5050, Massachusetts. 1-800-BETS-OFF, Iowa. 1-800-270-7117 for confidential help, Michigan.
We had an incredible time a week ago to today. It feels like forever ago that we had our draft party. Just great memories from that draft party. It was great catching up with everybody that we could. It was like your wedding night though. Like once things started going, like once the draft fired up, like we couldn't sit there and talk with anybody except for Daniel that came on set like out of nowhere and chugged a couple beers. But we've got more events going on with our favorite brewery in Arizona, Four Peaks. How about our Diamondbacks game that we got 4 seats to an upcoming Diamondback, Four Peaks, 4 seats. One lucky winner can get 4 seats to an upcoming D-backs game. Tickets come with the D-backs, with the D-Bucks. So go grab some food, ice cold wow wheat or that hop knot. Enter by going to Four Peaks Brew on Instagram. They've got a link on their bio. And also Four Peaks, they're for teachers as well. Teacher Appreciation Week starts next week. You can thank a teacher, nominate them, win grants, Four Peaks swag, a grand prize of custom makeover of their teacher's lounge at the school. And that'd probably be frowned upon if they got maybe some mini kegs in there and maybe some taps from Four Peaks. Probably not the best thing for the school. But also I saw another thing that they're starting to do too. It's raise a glass for ALS awareness with the Iron Horse Hoppy Golden Ale. So this is an ale that they brought out that they're debuting to help raise awareness for ALS. To commemorate ALS Awareness Month in May, Four Peaks has joined forces with Ales for ALS to release Iron Horse Hoppy Golden Ale, which has sources of light-bodied, flavorful beer that features notes of grapefruit, mandarin, lemon, and pine, and it helps serve a good cause. Check it out. Help donate to this great cause, and check out the events that they have along with this great new beer and awareness for ALS. Go to fourpeaks.com/events. You got to be 21 years or older.
You guys tipped us off to this in the chat, asking you shall receive. The Arizona Cardinals have just released the rookie numbers for the 2023 NFL draft class. There they are. Paris Johnson Jr., number 70. I think we knew that. But the big one, Bo, a lot of people were hoping for, throwing it back to his LSU days, B.J. Ojulari, keeping number 18, which I think incredibly clean. But how about our guy, cornerback Garrett Williams, rocking the 21, Patrick Peterson vibes. How about that? And then Michael Wilson, 6'2", 13.
Yeah.
Michael Floyd vibes right there.
How dare you, Christian Kirk? Michael Floyd was 15.
Was he? No, I thought he was 13. Was he 15? Oh, yeah. Man, my brain, it's not aging well. But I thought he was definitely 13. But yeah, Christian Kirk. You know, I see Michael Wilson. I think a little bit of Michael Floyd there too. But that might be too much on the head. What do these numbers stick out to you? Any that you like in particular?
I mean, I like the Ojulari going 18. That's great to see coming off the edge for the Arizona Cardinals. It's that might be one to cop later down the road if he starts to rack up some sacks. 21, yeah, it is. I like. I mean, 21 obviously was made famous by Primetime back in the day, and then of course P2 wore it, played at a high level for the Cardinals wearing 21. Clayton Tune wearing 15, quarterback, not bad. Papo 44, that's a cool linebacker number. And then you got Kytrell Clark, 26, and then Stills in number 98. Those are some solid choices. I mean, I got nothing more beyond that. I mean, I don't want to spend too much time on it.
Somebody asking, was it Myjai Sanders 44? I think Myjai Sanders was 20 or 41 last year. But we talked about it. We prefaced this. It's not a great year, Bo Brock, for rookie numbers with the Arizona Cardinals. They had sexier years where guys come in maybe single digits. They get their college number. They're running backs. They're a high drafted wide receiver or quarterback. So I know a lot of people have been waiting to pull the trigger on one of those new jerseys, whether it be the all white or the black. So I don't know what you should do in terms of this rookie class. I think, maybe take a hot minute before you rock the number 70. I mean, big guys need love too, right? But BJ Ojulari at 18, we'll see. I would imagine if he's good, he's going to stick with that number. There's always the dicey proposition. You invest in a rookie jersey and then they change the numbers the following year.
Yeah. Marcus Golden was 44. He was released this offseason. So Papo picks up Junkyard Dog's old number. It's a little tough, right? Then, they've got the little producer Emma picked up on this. They've got the little asterisk because they could change. Obviously, there's 90 players, close to 90 players on the roster now. So there's a lot of numbers that are spoken for as of right now, but could certainly change. I know that these guys aren't wearing the same numbers that they wore in college. I don't think a single one of them is wearing the same digit that they were in college.
Outside of BJ.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, BJ Ojulari, 18. So, yeah, not bad.
Not bad. What do you want to talk about? DeAndre Hopkins now? You want to talk about our friends at Pro Football Focus? Listen, PFF came out. They don't give the Cardinals love all that
draft.
often.
Might as well, right?
Yeah. Pro Football Focus released their most improved units in the NFL. They had the Commanders on there, but they had the Arizona Cardinals on there as well. One of the top 3 most improved teams in terms of their unit. And they highlighted the offensive line, and they did so behind the very large back of one Paris Johnson Jr., citing his ability, Bo, to play left tackle and guard, which we think pending injury is going to be his spot, at least early on in his career. And I'm with PFF. I think this is a serviceable unit. I think it's got a big asterisk, like these jerseys, health permitting, right? Can DJ Humphries get back? Can Will Hernandez stay healthy? What the hell are you going to get from the center position? But I do think it has an opportunity, especially from a pass protection standpoint, to be pretty solid.
What tackle position do you think that Paris Johnson could potentially win outright?
I think left tackle, because based on the war of attrition, Kelvin Beachum has missed one game maybe with the Arizona Cardinals in 2 years.
Yeah.
And he's incredibly steady. I don't see him coming in and beating Kelvin Beachum outright. I think.
Do you believe the coaching staff when they say that it's going to be competition and that they're going to play the best 5?
I do. Because I think, again, they moved all of DJ Humphries' money this year that's guaranteed into 2023. So it's like they don't need to talk themselves. I love DJ Humphries. He looked like he was in fantastic shape when we were at the uniform unveiling. He's been in all of the marketing materials this offseason. He has not stayed healthy. I mean, he held out last year in training camp to then play 9 games last year and was not good during the season. So it's like, I am ready to be talked out of DJ Humphries as left tackle for this team. And I think this is his last year with the team anyway. Bo, they re-signed Kelvin Beachum to a 2-year contract. He was an outright free agent. So you bring in Kelvin Beachum on a 2-year deal, albeit modest, that tells me like he's in their plans to start games. Whereas Humphries, it's like, it does feel like let's keep our options open. And I just don't trust DJ Humphries to stay healthy. I could be wrong. And I know he'd like one more cash in the free agent market, but I think Paris Johnson Jr. starting left tackle. Let me say this. We fast forward to week 1 in September. I'll say there's like a 40-60 chance that Paris Johnson Jr. is starting at left tackle based on DJ Humphries getting hurt or just not being healthy with his back.
I think you have 4 very capable tackles on your team, 100%. And that's a decent spot to be in, right? And then you start to look, can they help fill in the need at guard? I don't think you necessarily have that on the right side. You feel pretty comfortable with Will Hernandez, probably more in the run blocking game, more so than in pass pro. And then the more and more we get closer to the season, I don't think that they're going to go get a Ben Jones or anything. It really seems like it's Yelda Froholt's job. It really does. I don't know why do you have such hesitation on
tell us all about Yelda Froholdt. Like,
So
what's
Yelda
his
Froholt,
experience?
he
What's his
sounds like a
background?
Lord
Was
of
he
the
in
Rings
Was he in the
character.
Lord of the Rings? Yeah, I was just about to
Yeah.
ask. Star Wars Day, but was he in Lord of the Rings?
I was just at IKEA. I got myself a Yelda and I got a Froholt, and I put them together. It was a mess because the directions are always tough on those Froholts. They're tough.
Yeah.
But look, he is a massive man. He looks like he competes in the strongest man competition. And then you look at his season last year, at least, and this is recent for the Cleveland Browns, where he follows Drew Petzing. He was the quarterback's coach there, had a heavy hand as far as the offensive game planning for the Browns. And he comes here to Arizona, and I think he feels comfortable where he was at his best last year was at the center position. Like he had a cup coffees at right guard. He's not going to vie for right guard reps. I think they view him as their center for right now. And then probably a John Gaines, the rookie fourth rounder out of UCLA with the versatility, could be the next guy because, we talked to Justin Fry, a guy who recruited him at UCLA. He talked about his intelligence, his IQ, and that was one of the parts on his scouting report. So John Gaines, and then I think Lacita Smith is probably in that conversation.
So doing a quick PFF search for Yelda Froholt, and PFF's not the end-all be-all. Played almost 600 snaps last year. 7 sacks allowed. Had a 61 overall grade for PFF. 49 as a pass blocker. 67, though, as a run blocker. Again, blocking for one Deshaun Watson and Jacoby Brissett.
Most of it, if you look at, so he played, 4 games at guard, and then he played 5 games at center, and he had way more. He allowed sacks from the guard position more so than the center position. So,
well, I mean, he's not small. He's 6'5". He's enormous, and he's young. He's 26. This is not the same as
big for a center, though, too.
Let's not get Rodney Hudson, off the retirement couch at 100 years old, Chris Paul style, and let's have him snap the ball for 4 games and then pay him a fat check. That's not what this is. Yelda's not making very much money, so right. I like when young guys have opportunities to come in hungry. It's just to the point we were making all 3 days during the NFL draft is okay, but do you have an heir apparent? Maybe a John Gaines. Maybe it should have been Joe Tippmann. Maybe it should have been, God love him, Luke Whippler or somebody like that should have come in. But it's not to say they can't address it next offseason. That to me, it's like you can find supplemental guards and they've got a bunch of tackles. It just would have been nice to see them address the center position. But PFF isn't concerned, so why should we be concerned?
Yeah, I mean, and they must not have loved this center class as deep as it was perceived, right? Or you had John Michael Schmitz, who was the second center off the board. He goes to the Giants, and they were applauded for that move. And Tippmann was the first center off the board, and then Juice Scruggs and Whippler, and then there was the kid out of Notre Dame, right? So it was perceived as deep, but there was so many opportunities. I don't know how many times in Monti Ossenfort did he not draft a center. I would say he had probably 4 to 5 opportunities to pull the trigger on one, and he just didn't do it.
Let's count it. He had pick 33, traded it. There's one. He had pick 41. He took BJ. Okay. He had pick 71. He took Garrett Williams. There's 3. He had pick 94. He took Michael Wilson, and then he had pick 96, and he traded down. He had 5 chances, and then on the next day in the 4th round, they made a pick. What'd they do? They took the Gaines. So they had six chances to add Luke Whippler, and they didn't do it.
They just said thanks, but no thanks. Thanks, but no thanks. Juggle sucks, man.
We had Justin Fry on. Check out the interview from last week, or maybe this week. Can't even remember. Days are blurring together on Paris Johnson Jr. And I went to his Twitter this morning, and he had retweeted something about Paris and Luke. And I'm like, that could have been us. That should have been us. Or are we going to look back and say, Luke Whippler, why is he in Cards camp? I got to watch this guy from Germany, give up 7 sacks. Let's just reconvene and get the whole Ohio State offensive line. Did you see what the right tackle for Ohio State said? By the way, that DeWan Jones came out and said during his
trying to figure out why he was falling, right?
Yes. Listen, I thought he was like a day 2 pick, at best, probably. And then he fall to day 4? Day 3, he was like a 4th rounder. So supposedly DeWan Jones, is that what his name is? Came out and said his dream was not to play in the NFL, was to play in the NBA and during his NFL interviews. So not great. Not great. If you're interviewing for a job, don't talk about another job that you'd like more than the one you're interviewing.
See, the interview stuff, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Erroneous reports about Kyler Murray being traded to the Atlanta Falcons, not great. But like the Arthur Smith telling Peter Skoronski his answers are boring and he's boring him in the interview is fantastic.
Nice. I love
and
it.
DeJuan Jones saying, you know, I'd much rather play in the NBA than in the NFL. It's like, okay, we're going to put you down the board here. Or there was another one that came out. It was a K1 from day one on Twitter that pointed this one out about Mike Tomlin and why he didn't like Christian Gonzalez. He took Christian Gonzalez off his board completely because Christian Gonzalez, didn't like his answer of why he transferred from Colorado to Oregon. Just wasn't. He didn't think it was a good enough answer. He thought that he was just trying to. It didn't serve a good enough purpose for why he went from that horrible Colorado program to Oregon, which contended last year.
Should have stuck it out. Damn it, Christian. Not good enough. To be frank, we talked to a lot of these players. Bo talks to a lot of these players. Some of the guys are great on air and great in the room, and some of these guys, they just don't give you much, but they turn out to be great players. So it's the ultimate roll of the dice. And listen, speaking of roll of the dice, you don't have to do that when you're looking for some fresh gear at Pins and Aces because damn near everything is elite. It's the best golf apparel accessories out there. And right now, Pins and Aces is providing you 15% off your first order with the promo code PHNX. I got notified just yesterday. A bunch of stuff's back in stock in your size. Check it out right now. I love my Pins and Aces polo bow. I get a ton of compliments on it on and off the course. I wear it to dab around old Maricopa. I wear it inside the Circle K. And people love to commend me for my Pins and Aces polo. They make the best polos, as I mentioned, hats, golf bags, even our favorite beer sleeve, innovation product that allows you to store 7 beers right in front of you inside of your golf bag and keep them cold the entire round. You absolutely love to see that. Click on the links, by the way, in the show notes. You can sign up for our Keeping It 100 golf tournament with our friends at Dobson Ranch on May 26th. Again, Dobson Ranch. I don't know if it's the official ranch of PHNX. I love dabbling out in Mesa, Dobson Ranch. Free Pins and Aces.
Did you just say the official ranch or golf course?
I said it's not ranch dressing.
We're still open for business as far as our official ranch, but we've got a golf course. It's I don't know if we're going with like Hidden Valley. I don't know which ranch we like the best for PHNX, but we know that Dobson Ranch Golf Course is the official golf course of PHNX.
Yeah, fuck blue cheese. It's all about Dobson Ranch. Free Pins and Aces, PHNX collaboration, polo with sign up. It's an event exclusive, by the way. There's going to be games, prizes. It's fantastic. Love going out to Dobson Ranch with our friends at Pins and Aces. Check out pinsandaces.com. Use that promo code PHNX to receive 15% off your entire order. You get free shipping. That's pinsandaces.com.
Saving you money on some great golf gear, great golf apparel with Pins and Aces. Also saving your eyes out there on the links as well. You got to check out what Shady Rays has to offer. I got my Shady Rays. I always have them because in the center console of my truck, I've got some more, I guess, brand name, like more expensive boutique sunglasses, just collecting dust. No longer are they on my face. I'm wearing Shady Rays. I'm buying a couple more pairs as well. My wife wants a pair. She actually tries to take these bad boys from me. She's not getting these from me, from my cold dead hand. As far as Shady Rays, you can save on the best deal of the summer with Shady Rays. When you buy 2 or more pairs, you get 50% off when you do that. Check out their entire collection. So the ones I was holding up, those were unbelievable. Those are you have these, they're the best sellers that they got going on there.
Yeah.
You got the classics, you got the new frames out there, you got the classic timbers, you've got the you got so many different ones. You've got some real cool throwbacks as well. Get in on some Shady Rays. Use the promo code PHNX, and it'll save you 50% off when you buy 2 or more pairs of sunglasses.
Oh my God, that's a fantastic deal. I've ditched all my collector Rays as well, and I'm exclusive with Shady Rays.
Earlier this week, we went with the PFF mock draft simulator, and they had the Cardinals picking 1 and 2. And then Todd McShay did his too early mock draft. He just dropped this one off. Trinell actually sent this to me in my DMs. I appreciate that. Here's McShay's 2024 NFL mock draft. Johnny, I don't know if this is the first time you're set eyes on this, but he had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers bottoming out, actually a projected trade with Arizona. So they trade up. So the Cardinals are trading out of the spot to get Caleb Williams. They're all in on Kyler Murray. He must have come back from the ACL injury and just been MVP candidate again. So he has the Bucs trading up. Bucs take Caleb Williams. Cardinals stick and pick at 2. They take Marvin Harrison Jr. Celebrate that. That's a big dub. The Washington Commanders take the North Carolina quarterback Drake May. That's a trade that they pulled off with the Colts. And then the Titans stick and pick with Dallas Turner, the linebacker, the pass rusher out of Bama. And then the Cardinals trading down at 5. They get a cornerback out of Bama, one of the best names in college sports.
Kool-Aid Man.
Yeah, that's right. Kool-Aid McKistry. So the Cardinals get a corner, the top corner in the country, and they get the top wide receiver in the universe, Marvin Harrison Jr.
I'm going to tell you right now, 0% chance that happens. 0.000. And I love your boy Jody Ayler. He floated this out. Cardinals have the top pick. They're going to trade it, get a ton of picks.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell everybody right now, prepare yourself, okay?
Brace for impact.
Embrace yourself, or embrace yourself. Also embrace yourself. I love Kyler Murray. I think he's the best homegrown quarterback they've ever drafted. If they have a chance to draft Caleb Williams overall, they will move off of Kyler Murray. I feel very confident in saying that. Not for Drake May out of the ACC.
Right.
That bullshit out of here. If they have a chance to draft Caleb Williams first overall, whether it's with their pick or Houston's pick, they will take him. And
there's so many qualifiers for that. And I feel like we don't need to go. We don't have to like be the podcast or the show
let's do it. Let's do
that. But I agree. If they have the number 1 pick, you have to have that serious conversation. And what's very appealing is absorbing the dead money for 1 season and then for 4 more seasons having a rookie contract with a player the caliber of Caleb Williams. And everybody can push back and say, how dare you? And Kyler deserves better. It's just like that's just smart business to consider it and very well making that move. But you have to have the number 1 overall pick to be in the Caleb Williams business.
100%. He's going first overall. And the Cardinals put themselves, I love this libertarian Sasquatch here, getting Houston's pick was such a steal. Absolutely was.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what makes all of this a reality to talk about for the next calendar year, Bo Brock. And so Martin Harrison Jr., though, I mean, I think we'd all be disappointed. As much as I want this team, I think they're going to be more competitive than people think. We'll see about Houston. It would be disappointing if Marvin Harrison Jr. wasn't a Cardinal next April. But I don't even think Caleb Williams to Arizona is likely because I think the Cardinals are going to be more competitive, and I think Houston with DeMeco Ryans is going to win. It's so hard to get the top pick. I mean, we saw you have to be historically bad. This year, the Cardinals lost 7 games to end the season. They look like the worst team in the NFL, Bo, and they still ended up picking 3rd overall. So to have the 1st overall pick, I don't care what their defensive line looks like. I think Jonathan Gannon is a better
especially
coach.
if Kyler comes back.
Right.
I mean, the biggest deterrent of them not even being within striking distance of that. And like you made a great point the last time we discussed this, and it's a polarizing topic. And I love that people are coming to the defense of their franchise quarterback. They should. But as far as the Arizona Cardinals, I mean, or which teams wouldn't consider moving off of their quarterback? I mean, I think there's probably 5 that don't even have the conversation.
Yeah. Kansas City, Cincinnati, Jacksonville, Buffalo. They're all in the AFC.
Yeah. And probably the Chargers and probably Baltimore at this point. I don't think they could make that happen with all the money. And Philly probably
I think they would switch out Caleb and Lamar if money wasn't a problem. But yeah, I'm with you. It's like 4 or 5 teams. They're all in the AFC. I mean, I think we're all in agreement. This is a Luck, Manning, Mahomes-esque type of prospect with the hype, not the player in terms of pocket pass or whatever. This is a player that universally was seen. He would have gone first overall this year. That's inarguable.
Yeah.
He would have been the first overall pick this year. That Houston or the Chicago Bears would have picked him first overall. They would have moved off of Justin Fields. That's been reported by our guy Benjamin Albright. The Cardinals will take him first overall, assuming he doesn't regress and an injury doesn't happen. But I think it's a moot point because I don't think they're going to have the top pick next year.
Right. And if they don't, it's not a question. Like the team that's going to be sitting at the top, unless it's like one of those 5 teams and something went horrendously wrong and they didn't get their franchise quarterback to play, probably suffered an injury, they're probably in a position again or back in that conversation. There's so many different variables that go into it. It's crazy to have, but the Arizona Cardinals, what Adam Schefter said during the draft, and we echoed it, obviously, that they control this draft in the sense that if they want it to go up and get a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr., they have the current draft capital in 2024 and future draft capital to pull off a deal to move up in order to get that player.
And I think that's the more realistic conversation is like, could you just pack if Marvin Harrison Jr. is destined to go 3rd overall and the quarterbacks go 1-2 and a team that's picking 3rd has some good wide receivers. I don't know who that is off the top of my head. And then you have like picks 5 and let's say 10. I mean, is that worth it? Those are conversations that we're going to have over the next calendar year. I'm excited to have them, but the quarterback conversation, I think everybody in that building knows, Jonathan Gannon especially, that if they get Kyler Murray right, they're going to win a lot of games. And they're going to win a lot of games because he's a special, special player. But to Bo's point, the way you win championships in today's NFL, unless you have a Mahomes, is you get a quarterback on a rookie deal that's special, that's Joe Burrow-esque or Mahomes-esque or Josh Allen-esque, and you load up your roster. But I think that we blew that opportunity because Steve Keim was running this franchise into the ground. So it's like, well, people are like, well, what do we do now? I still think there's a window where Kyler Murray makes $45 million a year and you're competitive and you're competing for the postseason.
Yeah. We were checking, speaking of ESPN, we were looking at ESPN's website. They had the Arizona Cardinals depth chart up, and it's interesting because especially when you look at the defensive side of the football, we mentioned like Yelda Froholtz is likely your starting center on the offensive side. But if you look at their defensive depth chart, this is where it gets kind of fascinating. They've got Zaven Collins right there at the top of this base 4-3 defense as your left defensive end. They've got Rashard Lawrence is one of your DTs. Lecky Fotu is your other DT. You got Jonathan Ledbetter on the other side as your right defensive end. You've got Isaiah Simmons as your will linebacker, Kazir White as your middle linebacker, Gardeck as your Sam, and then you've got Rashad Fenton as your left corner. You've got Marco Wilson as your right corner, and then Thompson and Buddha as your safeties. The biggest one, obviously, is Zaven. After just 2 days in voluntary minicamp, working out with the pass rushers, it's like they're already set to move him from an off-ball linebacker to defensive end in a 4-3 base.
Well, listen, he didn't have robust stat numbers at Tulsa. He had 4 his last year, but our guy Tyree Wilson had 7. So who am I to judge? But if you go back and you look at a lot of the pre-draft information, and again, I don't know if he's going to play this position full-time or not. I thought when they initially drafted him, Bo, they were going to play him at outside linebacker. I thought he was going to be a pass rusher, but a 3-4 outside stand-up linebacker. And then Keim came out that night and said, no, he's an inside backer. And they just couldn't help themselves. I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world to try it. Because to your point earlier this week, I think you can convince Zaven, hey, man, this could help you get your 5th-year option picked up. This could help you save money in the long run. Like you're going to, if you're a pass rusher and you get 8 sacks this year, and we feel like, hey, this is your permanent spot, like, shit, man, let's roll the dice. We'll pay a 5th-year option for an edge rusher, and then let's build off of that. Whereas we know what they want from their inside backers, small, undersized, speedy guys to clean up the mess when your front 7 can't take care of business. So to me, I don't know. I agree with Jean-Paul Edward Dios in the chat, though. He's got explosiveness,
Mhm.
and he's got the size. Does he have the bend? Does he have the pass rush moves? We haven't seen that yet at the NFL level. Doesn't mean it's not there, though.
Right. And this is the Hassan Reddick, Hail Mary in his 4th year of his rookie contract, where they declined his 5th-year option a year early. So you're going to have the benefit, like they're going to play him potentially at this new position. Could he just focus and his main role be rushing the passer? And if he goes off, you do have the option, as you mentioned, to pick up that 5th-year option, to where if they were doing this next season and like, okay, well, you're a linebacker, but can you do something that's going to be more important to this team? Because we know how they feel about the linebacker position, the off-ball linebacker position. They don't want to invest that type of money, which is going to be probably more than what it was going to cost for Isaiah Simmons, which was $12.5 million, just because it escalates from year, to the next year. I think that, that's a good this is a great opportunity potentially for Zaven Collins. And, they like that, he's willing to take this on, and it could benefit both sides, no doubt about it. So when you look at, I don't know how I feel about, on the other side, it's Jonathan Ledbetter. I'd rather it be,
they're just guessing.
They've got BJ Ujulari as a backup will linebacker. I just don't think that's where he's going to play.
No. I love this comment. Sean Han shot first. He needs to train with JJ this offseason, gain some moves. That'd be a great question for JJ Watt, in all seriousness. If somebody could get a mic in front of him and say, hey, you spent more time with this kid than anybody. Do you think he could play defensive end? And just see what he says. I think that, and if I wouldn't be surprised if he makes that move, if he doesn't try to tap into JJ Watt, because that tremendous resource and overachiever himself. You're just trying everything. And you know what? It's not for the Cardinals, the new regime, to try and make up for the past mistakes of Keim and Kingsbury. And
I think it would be better for a guy like Zaven Collins, like his body type, to potentially go bigger than it is to stay, lighter on his feet. I mean, he was a guy that they said he was a couple donuts away from like 260 when they drafted him.
Well, can I just say something without being, and then everybody's pissed because I'm critical of Isaiah Simmons. I'll put Zaven in this category too. They aren't fluid enough, I feel like, to play linebacker. They just look sometimes too stiff. Simmons can't play the run. Zaven can, but he has trouble covering. And I mean, he's not somebody that has a bunch of interceptions and passes defended in his first 2 NFL seasons. I don't know where you play Isaiah Simmons. I think I could envision absolutely a scenario in which you rush Zaven from the edge and you just see what happens. At the very least, Bo, what were they shit awful at last year? They in a 3-4, albeit they couldn't stop the run. I think Zaven Collins might be able to play the run as a 4-3 defensive end, and you just kind of go from there. And maybe you substitute BJ Ojulari on passing downs, even though Nick Rollis said he's ready to play the run. I trust Jonathan Gannon and Nick Rollis with this group, and let's let the chips fall where they may. Let's put people in the best positions to succeed. Let's not try to pigeonhole them to what Keim said, to what the draft pundits said. And if anybody's going to buy in, it's Zaven Collins. He's going to buy into what they want to do.
I don't know why you wouldn't want to buy into it. I mean, it's like racking up sacks is the equivalent of hitting home runs in baseball. I mean, why wouldn't you want the opportunity to just pin your ears back, go after a quarterback each and every down? I think that would be an awesome chance for a guy going into his 3rd year.
Cardinals are due for something like that to happen with all the shit luck and the shaky draft picks and the exiting free agents, whether it be Byron and Zach Allen, Christian Kirk, Hassan Reddick. It's like the Cardinals are due in their fan base. Zaven Collins moving to pass rusher, having 12 sacks, and signing into an extension, and it just working. The Cardinals are due for some good luck like that. And that doesn't mean it's going to happen. But
well,
man,
I think it's going to come with better coaching. I think it's going to come with, I think you're going to see people that we're not talking about enough right now that are going to be put in a position to be successful on the field because their coaches are going to know how to unlock it, because they're going to be prepared for this. They've obviously been studying the tape. They're going to see how it translates on grass in practice, and then they're going to have them executed on the field. And, Zaven's a good bet, I think, on the defense for somebody just because of his skill set and his size. And you look at the offensive side of the football, it's like, who's that guy for the offense? Who's going to be like the person we're not talking about right now that's going to be given an opportunity that they've probably been never given in their career, but this coaching staff, it's important to them and it's going to translate to production.
His name is Greg Dortch, and he was buried on the depth chart last year inexplicably. It's either going to be Greg Dortch or it's going to be Trey McBride on offense, in my opinion. With all due respect, like Keontae Ingram may surprise, but I mean, I think we know the offensive line is pretty much set. They interchangeable parts. Like Greg Dortch, if he played his ass off this year like he did last year, is going to win over that staff in a heartbeat, in my opinion. And then I also feel like Trey McBride with Ertz maybe not being 100% healthy. I mean, Trey McBride in that, shit final 4 to 6 games that everybody had to endure with the David Blows of the world and Trace McSorley, like Trey McBride came on. He was good against Atlanta, scored a touchdown. Like, hopefully he builds off of that. It would not surprise me if Trey McBride is featured because of how much Drew Petzing likes big physical tight ends. I would love to see that.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I mean, with their quarterback situation going on, a bunch of backups, obviously they'd be looking for that safety net, and the tight end becomes a very popular position. And we'll see where Zach Ertz is to start the season, potentially at his age, coming back from his ACL. He's gearing up like he's going to be ready for week 1, but you never know with this. So got a chat question. Nightingale Sunset saying, do you guys think there's a strong shot of trading the Houston pick down to get Donovan Jackson, get an elite guard prospect to pair with Paris for years to come? Look, I mean, it's really going to be interesting to see how just the college football season plays out and how these draft, 2024 draft picks, how they navigate this season, and if they improve their stock, or there's Notre Dame has some interesting prospects on the offensive line. So I wouldn't be opposed to it. I mean, I think that would be it's probably something that Monti Ossenfort wants to do. He realizes that he's got some bridges to some younger players, but you've got one controllable guy on your offensive line. I think going forward, sure, you like Jonathan Gaines, but you don't know what he's going to be able to do at the next level. You got Paris Johnson Jr., and that's about it. We'll see what the plan is for Josh Jones. If he plays into the future, he's still young. But other than that, like young, controllable, it doesn't exist on this roster. So looking at one of those 2 picks and utilizing it on the offensive line, I think that's very much in play.
We haven't decided in what capacity it's going to work its way in, but during this fall, and in combination with our Cardinal coverage, it would be, I would say, inappropriate not to include draft coverage with the state of this franchise, to talk about prospects that you guys are watching and kind of preview as the landscape turns. And hopefully the Cardinals surprise us, and we're talking about viability within the NFC West, but then also leverage it with Houston's pick, have a running update on some mock drafts. So I think Nightingale Sunset, that's going to be a great thing to keep in mind over the course of the fall into draft season next year. Because, I mean, the Cardinals, this will probably be the most focused, Bo. I think a lot of fans who are casual college football fans are going to be, because unlike this class, which it was very much Bryce Young and Will Anderson, and then a bunch of question marks guys that emerge, maybe throwing Will Levis in that. Like, we have blue chippers, guys that I feel like are going to be quintessential draft cornerstones for the next calendar year, regardless of the season. I don't see a way. Caleb Williams is dropping. Marvin Harrison Jr. profiles the best college wide receiver since either Fitz or Randy Moss. Like, that's not going to change. It's going to be a star-studded class, and the Cardinals have 2 front row tickets. It's fantastic.
Yeah, credit a guy like Todd McShay, who he did this exercise today, his too soon for 2024 class. They kind of checked his 2023 class. And I think
how was it?
It was solid. It was really solid. But what he did, I think there was only one player that fell far, like way out of the top 5, top 10. But it was a solid performance, and this one probably, barring any injuries or somebody just completely falling off a cliff production wise, should be pretty true. When you look at, he's got Caleb Williams, he's got Marvin Harrison Jr., Drake May, Dallas Turner from Bama, and Kool-Aid McKinstry. So it's I'm sure those guys probably still end up first rounders. Are they top 5? That can change a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you got to think Bama after this year rebounds and gets into the Final Four. USC, are they in the Final Four? Georgia. I mean, it's just
They don't have a
we're going to see.
quarterback.
Yeah, we'll find out. We'll find out. You can find out more at gophnx.com. Become a diehard. Subscribe to Howard Balzer's phenomenal articles, which are 90% free. Slam that promo code Howard, HOWARD. This is my favorite new tee from the PHNX merchandise locker. It's our Cardinal Bird t-shirt. Check it out. We also have this phenomenal lid that you can pick up for free if you become a diehard for the year. That's gophnx.com, the PHNX merchandise locker, Bo.
We're going to be hanging out tomorrow at the BetMGM Sportsbook out there at the stadium, State Farm Stadium, right on the Great Lawn. Come hang out. I'm going to be there. Johnny is going to be remote because we couldn't get the chopper to get him from Maricopa all the way to. Even if you left right now, I don't think you could make it to Glendale. It's such a long trip.
I promise this is the only one I'm going to miss,
right.
And then I will be at every single BetMGM.
We're going to be hanging out. We're going to be taking in sports. You can go down there, place bets. You can have a blast. We'll talk some Cardinals football. The Suns crew is going to be hanging out as well. We're going to have we're going to play some bags, play some cornhole. It's going to be great. So if you're a West Sider, if you're looking for something to do on your Friday night, come join us. Entire crew is going to be out there, except for Johnny. But everybody else is going to be out there having a great time. And then Johnny's going to join us in the future. But if you're looking for something to do, come join us at the BetMGM Sportsbook.
Like and subscribe this podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We've received a ton of wonderful comments in light of our draft coverage. Doesn't mean the party doesn't stop. This is your only daily Arizona Cardinal podcast every single day, 4 p.m. Like and subscribe. PHNX Sports on YouTube, PHNX_Cardinals on Twitter. He's Bo Brock. I'm Johnny Venerable. We're back on a Football Friday. See ya.